Greetings from UNC Hussman and Happy New Year. So the spring 2026 semester is right on the way since last week. And this week we have a treat for you. We are going to talk a little more about our strategic plan that we talked about last year. However, now the plan has been formally adopted by the school. It has been voted on and adopted. And one person that I'll be interviewing today who has had a really big role, who has played a big role in the adoption and development of the strategic plan is Dan Margolies, who is our Director of Strategic Initiatives. So I'll let Dan introduce himself, tell you a little more about what he does, and then I'll ask Dan to talk more about the strategic plan, not only what's in the plan, but also the process that we use to develop the plan. So Dan, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, it's good to be here for the first time and talk about the plan. I came in here about a year and a half ago to work on this plan. So we've had this long collaborative process. We've had a number of meetings along the whole way with faculty and staff, different groupings about different subjects, and then we went back again in the fall to reassess everything after the faculty created these faculty units. So we came together with a plan that reflects all of those conversations over a year and a half, and the interests of the faculty and the staff, and the vision that you have for the school going forward.
Thank you for all the work that you did to bring that about. So I really appreciate that, and I think the whole school appreciates that. So to remind folks at home who are watching the video, I know that I've talked about the plan at different points. We started essentially with 3 different buckets. So when we went to the first big retreat that we had in August 24, when we talked about the plan with the whole school, all the staff and the faculty, we had these 3 big buckets that we called the student journey. We had a bucket that was called the technology and equipment and software, and then another one that was graduate studies and research. So we started with those ideas because along the years that I've been here, those were the 3 most salient issues that kept coming up, and we felt that it was a good starting point for the plan. But obviously at the retreat in 24 and then after that, we did a lot of work around those basic buckets, as we call them, and we started to develop a little more what went inside the buckets through all these conversations in the school. Can you summarize what we did that fall and the subsequent spring to bring the plan about, and maybe start touching a little bit on what's inside those 3 buckets?
Sure. I think it's good to think about the buckets as all interlinked also, because instead of things being divided, they're all connected. And so we divided it up as a way to talk about and to break it down, to make it coherent, and to be able to make sure we had everybody's interests being accounted for. What runs through across all of the buckets are 2 big things. One is the whole vision for the school, which is for Hussman to become the global leader in journalism and media education and in research and in public service, which is reflecting the mission of the school and then bringing it onto a global scale. And then the buckets, also the thing that runs through them all is the need for resources to make everything get realized. So we divided it thematically into these into the buckets, but of course the student journey covers all of them, and they all impact on the student journey. And so that really looked at faculty looked at curriculum. They looked at the interests of how classes are structured, the kind of coverage, the kind of outreach that the students have when they're connected before they come to Hussman through their entire time here, and then of course as they go into dominate the media fields of the future and jobs that don't even exist yet. So there's a real focus on on education, but also education for this purpose for, of course, for their later careers.
It's really interesting that you talked about how the three different buckets are connected, because I feel to give the example of starting out with the student journey, as you said, we started out with that one because students are the mission of the school. The mission of the school is to educate the students and prepare them for careers. So we started there. So, and we look at student journey, and as the media industry changes and the careers change, how do we change the curriculum to be better and to be more adapted to the future and to be more future facing? And that, of course, relates to technology and equipment and software and curriculum and all those different things, because we have to provide the tools for the students to be able to develop those careers, right? And then when we think about research and we think about graduate programs, it comes from our commitment to the field, not only to academia, that we are going to provide the best researchers, the best professors who will educate new generations of students and professionals, but also how research plays a role in defining what the future of media will look like, and we want to have a big say in what that future, how that future shapes up. So all those things are connected, right? And I think a good example of that is AI, right? So a lot of people ask us about what are you doing around AI, and we use that as an example for the strategic plan too, because of course we are teaching AI not to jump on the bandwagon, because we recognize it is a new technology, is a new way of developing media that is here to stay, and we want to be the best at training the students not only to use AI to know how to engineer and prompts and different things and how to use that in their daily lives, but to think critically about AI and the impact that is having on media and society and messaging and content creation and all those things. So again, we are looking at AI in a very strategic way, right? So we want to develop and teach AI in a way that intersects with research and the way faculty and graduate students are thinking about AI and using AI and contributing to research about AI. And then we want to partner with the industry, which is another big point of the strategic plan. Partner with the industry, with the media industry, our alumni, professionals out there, companies out there, for them to tell us and help us understand how these changes are taking place and what we need to be doing to prepare the curriculum, prepare the students for the future, right? So it is a very different, more strategic way to look at technology like AI, or to look at equipment. Now, if we want to wrap up the conversation, what's next? I mean, what happens now that the plan has been formally adopted by the school? We ran the plan through the different boards and our partners in the industry. They gave us input. We took that input. We took the faculty and staff's input. What happens to the plan now? How do we implement this plan?
Well, that's the fun part, is that we went through all the work and now we have a solid plan, and so we're going to do the work of implementing it by drawing again on a collaborative process that includes everyone at the school, the faculty and the staff coming together in these different strategic areas that grew out of the original buckets of objectives. And then we're going to, people will come together this spring and make a priority list for the first phase of implementing the plan. Everything's not going to happen at once. A lot of these things are long-term changes, but they will be the first phase of implementation will be decided upon, and then we're going to start moving to realize the vision, because it'll be a progressive process over the next several years, and each step of the process, as conditions change, as our interests evolve, and as we start to implement these new programs and new approaches, then we will continually adopting with this collaborative process.
I think that's a good way for us to wrap up by saying also that everybody who's watching us will have an opportunity. Everything that we do, we try to engage our alumni, our boards, the industry, of course, the students. who are kind of the center of the mission of the school. So now will be a very collaborative phase where we work with the faculty and the staff, but also our partners outside, all the different stakeholders, to make sure that the plan is always, we always align with our mission, right? And we align with the mission that we set out in terms of public service to North Carolina, to the country, to the world, but also to the industry and to our alumni. So thank you everyone for your support throughout this process. And as we know, you will be engaged in the future in the implementation of the plan. We want all of our alumni, we want the industry, everybody who supports us in the boards, not to mention the students, of course, to be engaged in the process of letting us work together to accomplish all these different goals that we have set out to ourselves. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for watching, and go Heels.